A quick word here from our sponsor of the month. For the month of December, our sponsors are Fox and Hounds Dog Walking and Pet Visiting Services. If you want your dog walking, if you want your dog taken to the vet, or if you just want someone to come sit with your dog so they're not lonely, Jules has it covered at Fox and Hounds. Check her out on Facebook, Fox and Hounds Dog Walking and Pet Visiting Services, or you can drop her an email, which is jules@foxandhoundsdogwalking.co.uk. Thank you, Jules, for offering your services for this month. One more time, our sponsor of the month for December is Fox and Hounds Dog Walking and Pet Visiting Services. Thank you, guys, and on with the episode. We're ready to go, After all that, I've been messing around with stuff. To answer your question, yeah, we've got like it's an empty unit that we're using at the parade, just to hold our mobile studio.
That's pretty cool.
They've been kind enough to let us use it. It's a nice little space. It's a base of operations because what we're doing is centralise the town. Like we're promoting the town as a whole, and what a better place to be than in that building. It's just an amazing place to be.
Everyone knows where it is as well. So
yeah,
we just meet us in the parade, we have an interview.
Yeah. Guys, we've got he's been on the show before. He was one of our first guests, and he's a well-known guy that people love around this town. They love to hate, they hate to love. I don't know what's the quick way of putting this, but we all know him, and it's Chris Schurke. Shrewsbury from where you're not. Crazy daredevil climbing up buildings, taking pictures, but respectfully.
Respectfully. I mean, I don't go out of my way to annoy people. It sometimes happens, but it wasn't my plan at the start of the day. I didn't get out of bed and think, right, how shall I offend people today? I just do my own thing. I have my own adventures, and I blog about it.
Well, nobody goes out of their way to offend people, really, I don't think. It just happens to be that,
it's a controversial subject.
It comes across that way sometimes. I mean, on Facebook at the moment, Facebook used to be like a haven for me. It used to be a place where I could go and just forget about all my troubles and stuff. You could just look at pictures of cats and, stupid videos of people running into poles and things like that. Whereas now it's kind of like there's an election coming up.
God!
It's all the Brexit thing been going on. There's been before that. There's just a chaos now. You can't. I mean, I've had to have some deep conversations with people and say to them like, sometimes it's good to take a break from all that.
Yeah, I very rarely actually go on Facebook anymore, to be honest, except to promote what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm not on there half as much as I used to be. I'm mostly on Instagram nowadays because Instagram's just Instagram. People just post what they want people to see. There's no mudslinging. There's no political discourse as much. It's.
I like Instagram. The fact there's just a like button. That's it.
Like, comment. You can message people, but it's
kind of a bit more personal. When you drop a message on Instagram, it's kind of like you've got to click that read more button and you're like, there you are. Whereas Facebook is kind of just like, with all this political stuff that's going on at the moment, it's just a threads full of people just absolutely backing to. And I used to, I post the odd funny thing now and again. Like I find myself like being like, let's not get political today, Alex. Let's not do that. And then I find myself, I share something, I'm like, you've done it again.
It's true, but the problem with political debates is on the internet anyway is that they're all hypocrites. You'll see one side accusing someone of something, and then that side will do it too. And a good example is the European Union referendum thing, and all the Remainers were saying it's an outrage that we're leaving, and the Leavers were saying, well, it's democracy, so deal with it. But you know for a fact that if the shoe was on the other foot, they'd be making a fuss as well. No one's everyone's
And the thing is, like with politics and social media, it turns people into animals. Like you see the nicest people going, yeah, you know what, beep, and a beep, and a beep, beep. You know, he's like, whoa, that was Margaret, that sweet little Margaret. Like, you know, where's that come from? And you know, it's divided people. I've known people that I've had to delete members of their family, friends and stuff. You know,
it's torn friendships apart. It's torn families apart. You know. Personally, I think we've all fallen for this massive divide and conquer tactic on behalf of the government.
There's always been a divide, like the clan thing going on in the UK. I feel like it's been going on since I was a kid. I mean, it was either Oasis or Blur, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
And or it was recently it's Marvel or DC, or you know.
Well,
Coronation Street or EastEnders, like there's always like something you gotta like one or the other. Whereas I've been kind of like, well, I like both.
Yeah, yeah. I used to be very going back to Marvel and DC. I used to be very, very strictly Marvel back in the day. But yeah, as you get older, you kind of just chill out a little bit and you just think, you know, just
at the end of the day, like. I mean, like, there's a lot of conversation about comic books and things like that. Like, they are for children, you know. But they're not. Like, I've read issues of Spawn that are grotesque. Like, I would never let Timmy read some of the issues of Spawn that I read when I was like 13 or whatever, you know. And it's it's what we've grown up with, you know. And I think if you can change your outset with something that you've grown up with, whether it be comic books, whether it be politics, religion, whatever, if you can do that, if you can reprogram yourself. That's really commendable, I feel, because it's something you've been brought up with, and I think that's the problem we've got right now is that certain people have been brought up to feel a certain way and to think a certain way, especially about like things like the homeless in Shrewsbury.
Yeah,
you know, talking about like a huge divide. There is a huge divide there because some people are like, oh no, I'm going to buy him a coffee. There's a lady, I think it was for the Love of Shrewsbury. The other day, saying she went home, brought a blanket to this man who had his dog, and it was cold outside, and he was really grateful, and there was really kind comments. Whereas when I posted something up about the Ark last year, the comments that I got were quite nasty. You know, it's quite bad.
I tend to I don't know, when people start moaning on Facebook about this sort of thing, I tend to just I you know, I've got a very cheeky sense of humor, and I tend to let that shine a little bit. You know, a good example was the graffiti crisis. You know,
Madonna.
Yeah, I say crisis, but it's just words, and everyone's acting like the world's about to end. And I think if that's the worst that people got to worry about, then we're doing okay.
I think that just shows a bit of pride, isn't it? Like the people really they waited so long to see this beautiful like bridge being restored, and yeah, there's a bit of a shock because people are so proud. I had this a conversation with Lee Meakin a while ago from Conversation Junkie. You know, it's this town is very proud, and people will get uppity about things like that because they don't want to see that stuff happening. And he's sworn. They don't want to see stuff happening in their town, but you know,
it's true.
And I've got you into a bit of trouble recently. At the beginning of the year, when we did that interview for the Biscuit, you had some guy giving you grief, right, on social media, and I was kind of like, "What is this all about?" That was crazy.
Oh yeah, I remember him. Yeah, I haven't heard from him in ages.
Maybe we've done a bit of a Wishmaster thing now, and we've mentioned it, and it's gonna. I don't know. But yeah, whoopsie daisy.
I just assume, I assume he got bored. Ultimately, I mean, come on, I'm not the most interesting person in the world. I mean, I do interesting things, but if you were to follow the day in the life of me, you're going to see a lot of sitting down on the sofa scratching myself. You know, it's just that's how it is. You know, my social media is my adventures. But no one sees downtime, Chris. You know,
and this is why I brought this up is because you've got a lot of followers, both your blog, your Instagram, and stuff. You know, you've got a lot of followers, and does that bring? I mean, obviously, I know of the one person that was giving you grief for a while, but has there been much more of that?
Yes and no. I mean, it's difficult to. I mean, obviously, I get some grief on the internet for what I do, but a lot of it's not really personal. A lot of it's more just busybodies telling me that I shouldn't be doing it, stuff like that, and it's people getting offended. In my last blog post,
which was brilliant, by the way.
Thank you. I said that I trusted the floorboards about as much as I trust the McCanns to babysit, and and that offended people, and I don't know why. Because I think if Kate McCann was offering to babysit and you told her no, that's perfectly reasonable. You know, you'd be crazy to say yes.
Oh god.
But then the blog before that, I insinuated that I would sleep with Hitler, and no one complained. And I don't understand. Why that's less offensive than making fun of Kate McCann.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Like, I mean, like, I like the shock and all thing, especially with my other show. I say things to shock people all the time. It's my thing, baby. But like, I get shocked when people don't agree with me. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I did say that to shock and awe people. I said that comment was like designed for a reason. So the whole McCann thing, you kind of got to take with a pinch of salt, like you said. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think more people laughed than complained ultimately, but and it just goes to show you can't please everybody, you know. I tend to enter the world with the understanding that someone somewhere is going to complain about something, and if you worry about that, then you're never going to leave the house. You've got to just got to. I think if someone's offended, then it's really a matter between them and their mind. You know, it's like,
I think we're coming out of this PC culture thing now, though.
I think we are. I think we're bouncing back a little bit
because there's been a lot of you again, you know, and there's a lot of aspects to it. I think that over the last, I think people have been really desensitized, especially on social media. Like, you know, they're seeing a lot of language and behaviors that kind of really like concern you when you see it en masse. You know, it's kind of like, oh my god, like all these people feel this way.
Well, slightly unrelated, but kind of on the same vein though. I mean, if you look at the music industry, if you look at like the 1960s, you had like the Beatles and stuff, and then all of a sudden Alice Cooper came out and he had his makeup on, he was wearing a dress, and this is like 60s Alice Cooper now. He doesn't wear a dress anymore. but you know, everyone was like, oh my god, that's horrendous, a man's wearing a dress. And nowadays, you know, if that happens in the music industry, no one cares. And I think humor is going very much the same way. You know, the more tame it gets, then eventually being outrageous is going to come into fashion, and eventually we get desensitized to it all again. It's all a massive cycle.
Do you feel like these shows like, you know, South Park, Rick and Morty, things like this that are designed to be, like I said, shock and awe, like what we were talking about earlier, do you feel like these things do people a favour, these shows?
I think South Park in particular had, I think a lot of that was shock at the beginning, but as far as social commentary goes, South Park always hits a nail on the head. You know, it makes you, it does make you think a lot of the time, doesn't it? You know, it kind of, you know, and that's what I like about it.
I don't know how that show's still going, to be honest. I was watching some the other night, and I was like, how have they got away with this? They got Mr. Garrison running around as Donald Trump, and I was just like, what's this going on? The point I was trying to make is that, like, what that does is it takes that kind of, oh my god, it desensitizes you in the right way, you know. So if someone come up to you and use the C word in the street, and you'd watch a load of South Park, you'd be like, oh, okay,
yeah,
you know. Whereas if you dropped yourself in a bubble and stayed away from things like that, it was kind of like, call the police. You know, it's I kind of like that. I would never like expose my 4-year-old child to South Park and things like that, but I'm just saying that there is a purpose for these things. You know, if things are absurd, like your McCann joke, like Rick and Morty, things like that. If they're absurd for a reason. Like they kind of make people. Some people will find it funny. Some people may get offended, and I don't know.
I mean, ultimately though, it makes for a more interesting narrative. If I was to say the floorboards here feel unstable, that's a really boring sentence. If I say I trust the floorboards about as much as I trust the McCanns to babysit, that's describing them in an entertaining way. You know, it makes the narrative. It gives it a bit more depth and a bit more personality too.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. I like my personality to shine through. My friend once told me that my only friend. She once told.
My friend.
Yeah, I have a friend who once told me that when she was sat talking to me, I actually met her through doing the blog, and she actually said to me that I'm exactly the way that she would expect me to be from reading it.
Yeah,
which I took that as an amazing compliment. That shows that. Well, it shows that, you know, I'm coming across in my narrative. You know, I am me. You know, it's not just.
I was speaking to Steve Palmer, who's a local author, a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying, like, you know, when you're reading a book, it's like that has come out of someone's head, like a blog. They're your experiences, but they are the words have come out of your head. That's a slice of you. Every time someone reads a paragraph, that's a bit of you that they read, and you obviously write as you are. You know, that sounds very weird, but
I think some people seem to be under the misinterpretation that I'm a journalist. And I've had my journalism criticised before on the internet, and I always have to like take a step back and remind them I'm not a journalist. I'm a guy with a blog. You know, I set it up for free. People read it for free. The opinions in there are entirely my own. If something in there offends you, then click away.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You don't have to.
No one's forced to read it. It's good if you do.
And you've taken the blog on tour, haven't you?
I've been to Germany recently.
You've done lots since last time we spoke. You've been done some proper adventures, like.
Yeah, well, I set up 2 blogs a while ago. I don't think anyone realised at the time what I was planning, but I set up a blog called Everywhere From Where You Are Not because I knew that the future blog posts, I wouldn't be able to justify putting them on the Shrewsbury From Where You Are Not blog because there would be periods where there is nothing even remotely close to Shrewsbury. You know, we are geographically inaccurate.
We're having this problem as well because we've been offered doing things in Shropshire, obviously that's outside of Shrewsbury, and with the Shrewsbury Biscuit, and kind of like. Shrewsbury and surrounding areas.
This is the thing. When I first started, and I'm sure it's the same with you in the Biscuit. You know, when I first started, I thought, okay, I'm taking photos of Shrewsbury from the rooftops, so it's Shrewsbury from where you are not. I didn't realise I was going to. I didn't realise I was still going to be doing it in a decade's time.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously, you know, there's only so much you can do in Shropshire before you overgraze the pasture, and you've got to widen your circle, so to speak.
And you did Germany. How was Germany?
Germany was fantastic.
How long were you out there for?
I went for. I think it was like a long weekend. I think I went there on Thursday and I came back.
Oh, so not like massive. Was it like ram-packed though? You had to fit everything into like 2 days, 3 days.
I came back on the Monday. Was it Monday or Tuesday? I can't remember now. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I planned an adventure on each day, and sometimes 2 adventures on each day. And I just, I met my sister out there as well. She was coming over from California. I got my passport renewed, and I messaged her saying, "I've got my passport renewed. I want to do some. I want to hang out with you, and I want to do some urban exploring in another country. So I'm going to come to California." But my sister knew that I wasn't too keen on California, and the reason being, you know. I do have locations to check out there, but you know the Californian people, they're going to be like, "This is our town's oldest building; it's 200 years old," and I'm going to be like, "Well, so's my house." You know, there's no history there.
I think the difference with California is they could like legally shoot you for climbing on their property.
Oh yeah, that was on my mind as well. Yeah, that was totally.
Get off my house!
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
But yeah, so my sister arranged to meet me in Berlin. She was 2 days late because her flight got delayed, and she ended up in Sweden for a while. And I just had Berlin to myself for 2. And she's the one who can speak German, so I was kind of like hoping she'd get there sooner. But then I just thought, you know, I'm just going to explore Germany by myself. And I got the hang of once you get the hang of the trains there, it's easy.
Yeah, I quite like Europe for the transport. Like we went to Belgium and the trains, the trams, everything there is just like seems to run like clockwork. I know you cover a lot of like bunkers and stuff over here. Did you go out there to see a lot of that in Germany?
Yeah. The thing the big reason why I went to Berlin was to see an abandoned amusement park. And I did. That was always on. I've had that on my to-do list for years. It was always like I always said to myself, I would, but, and eventually I just said, but what? You know, there's nothing stopping me. Just book a flight, book an Airbnb, and away I go. But then once I was out there, I was like, well, you know, there's got to be more to it than just a theme park. So did a bit more research, and it's Germany. It was divided until 1991, I believe,
and the wall came down. Yeah,
and a lot of the buildings and stuff on the east side of Germany are just left now. There's so much to see. There's so much old Cold War stuff out there.
Really?
Yeah. I went to a couple of blogs ago. I did a Soviet tank barracks, and all the Soviet propaganda murals are still up there. You know, you walk in, you see a big painting of a Soviet soldier in uniform. And stuff like that, and it's remarkable what's been left.
That's crazy. I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, like my teacher, Mr. Trumper, David Trumper, he's a historian, local historian here now. He gave us a Germany project when I was in school, and I remember we learned a lot about the Heidelberg, things like that. And I was saying to my wife, actually, one of the best things he ever did was, like, for a geography project, he made us plan this mock trip from our school to Germany, and we had to plan which roads to drive down, which things like that. And we learned that there's lots of really nice history over there, big castles, things like that. Did you see any of that there while you were there, or was it just that?
I didn't.
City.
I didn't go to any castles. I did get out of the city though. There's a lot of tourists in Berlin, and
I imagine, yeah.
And I wasn't there for the tourists. I didn't go all the way to Berlin to interact with people who can speak English. I went to the outskirts. I went about 10 miles north of Berlin in the end to find an abandoned Nazi base, which was particularly difficult because there's no phone signal out there. I was in dense woodland. I climbed a couple of barbed wire fences. Apparently there's wild boar in the woods, but then I also heard a rumor that there's also live munitions still out there as well. So I was kind of like, well, you know, surely then I'll see some like remains of wild boar and stay away. You know, there's a bomb over there, or something.
That sounds crazy because I mean, like, you imagine. Oh, I don't know. Actually, I was gonna say, you imagine in this country they'd have cleared it all up. But I remember because I grew up in Wrexham. Minera, it's a big hill up in Wrexham. They used to go and find things up there because they used to bomb the mountain up there, and they used to do exercises up there and stuff. Yeah, I imagine an old Nazi base would be kind of hard. Did you see a lot there that made your stomach turn, or was it just kind of like old buildings and stuff?
It was a pretty creepy place, to be honest. The surface features have been bombed, but. Because the Nazis used to build it with so much packed in concrete, the bombing just really cracked it a little bit. You know, it was all still there, but we found a trap door in the ground which led down. When I was researching it, it said it was about 10 meters, but I'm not sure if it was actually that deep. But it went down underground into this massive, colossal labyrinth underground.
Really?
Yeah, and it's on the international blog. It was huge, and I thought, oh, I found a bunker, but then it just went on and on and on. I was like, oh, this bunker's got a door at the back of it. I'll go see what's through there. Oh, another door. Oh, another door. It just went on forever, and it was very maze-like. And we were down there for a little bit, and then we saw a stairway going further down. And I was just, it just carried on going. It was, I would say it was about, I would say it was about the size of the Parade Shopping Centre in terms of how sprawling it was. You know,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, like that'd be freaky. Oh yeah, if I was there, I could be like, nope, no. But I mean, some of the stuff I imagine you did, like there was one bunker, and you were like, I tried the ladder. It was stable, and I could just imagine me being on this ladder. And I would just be terrified, you know. So some of the stuff you do is,
I went to a bunker in Church Stretton, and the ladder was only attached at the top. The bottom it was just dangling, and this was I think it's about a 15-foot ladder. And as I was climbing out, it kind of like tugged under my weight a little bit, and I was like, okay, I better climb out quick. Because the longer I loiter on this ladder, the more chance my weight's going to yank out the top couple of bolts, and that's it. I'm down here forever.
Yeah, Dead, probably.
Well,
I mean, like, do you have any situations where you travel far distance to a place where it's just inaccessible, and you're like, oh,
all the time. It's that's the side of the blog that no one gets to see because I don't write about it because. But yeah, it's very hit and miss. Sometimes you do go a while just to get nothing. I tend to make backup plans now, just in case. It's always a case of okay, well, I'm going there. If I can't get in, what am I going to do?
Plan B.
Yeah, and luckily there's bunkers everywhere, so there's always a plan B.
And this is another thing that you've actually taught me, is that there are these bunkers everywhere. I want to come with you one day to a bunker. We keep saying this, we're going to do some urban exploring, but we never do. I think we met up and we bumped into each other. We were at Shop Latch when all those nice chairs were out.
Oh, that was really cool, wasn't it? That little mini garden.
Yeah. We sat there chatting. I was like, but I wanted to do an episode underneath McDonald's. The kind of cellar there. And you were like, yeah, look, I'll do it tonight if you want. And I was like, I'd like to do it legally. And you're like, you can't. You can't do it legally.
Well, I would say legally dubiously. I mean, McDonald's was. It was actually. I suppose I can tell you now, because they're reusing the site, but there was a door on the roof that just led into it, and it was unlocked, and you could go down into the entire building, and so as long as you can get onto the roof, you can get into the old Mackey's building, and I think no one realised except me, and it was my little place to hang out for like 2 years.
Oh wow! So like these guys that are fitting out like this new shop that's there now, are they going to find bits of Chris Schurke everywhere? Like, I don't know, things that you've left behind, or are you very conscious about keeping things tidy? I
leave things as I find them.
Yeah,
typically.
Yeah, because the train station thing, the last blog.
Oh yeah,
it's a sensitive one at the moment.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
But I saw this these bits around like old radios and bits that will probably be worth a bit, an old typewriter and things that you could probably flog for quite a few quid. And I'm just like, there are so many people that would turn up to a place like that and be like, yoink, and I bet it happens all the time.
Yeah, but it's not me, I wouldn't do that. And quite frankly, even if I wanted to do that, it's probably not in my best interest to do so because I've got such a high profile for doing it now. And it's
I wouldn't say you'd do it, not at all. I mean, like, I just find it bizarre that these things are still there after 50, 60, 100 years, like just sat on a shelf somewhere. Like there's a trophy on the shelf, and I was just like, wow, somebody. Like you'd expect someone just to yoink that.
So, someone earned that trophy. That's the sad part about it. That was that was someone's accomplishment once, and it's just there in a living room with no floor.
Yeah, I think as well. Like speaking of like past people earning things and the kind of history and the story behind sort of things. I feel like Shrewsbury is kind of like we're talking about desensitized. I feel like I've been desensitized a lot by Shrewsbury and the history here because I used to be like really empathetic about things. I go into the prison and I'd be like, oh my god, imagine how many sad people were here, and I'd feel that. I would feel that. I'd absorb it, and it would make me feel really eerie. Whereas I walk around the parade now, and I'm kind of like, da-da-da-da. Don't feel anything of that, and you'd expect it to, really.
Well, the parade was a hospital, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we had Stan Sedman come and tell us the whole history of the.
I love Stan Stedman. He's an amazing tour guide.
He's a fantastic guy, and he's very, very supportive of what we do, which is it's just really nice because when you make something that gets like credibility, like anything that Stan Sedman says is credible.
Yeah,
he's one of those guys, and you just like. It's Stan Sedman, man. So when he's saying it, you kind of like, oh.
If he says it, it's probably fact.
Yeah, and that gives me a bit of, makes me feel like a warm glow. You put something on there for the Shrewsbury, like, sort of keep up with the hard work or something. I was just like, oh, Stan. But what was I saying? I think saying something.
We've gone off a bit of a tangent.
We were. But no, I feel like, I mean, last night I walked back. I went to Birmingham to watch. I met some pod friends. Shout out to Gemma Williams from the Talking Codswallop podcast.
Hello, Gemma.
And to Jamie Westwood from the Superhero Bar Fight podcast, which is part of the Thorskin channel. Anyway,
hi, Jamie.
We met up and watched Kevin Smith's Jane Silent Bob reboot. Anyway, I was coming back, and I walked from the train station home, and I walked up Castle Street, turned left towards Windsor Place, past the parade, down the Cop.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And you'd expect like that to be terrifying. It's quite a dark little part of town during the night, and I was just kind of like, "This is cool, man." I had my Run the Jewels playing in my headphones, and I was walking, and I was just happy. Whereas a few years ago, I'd have been like, "Nope." So Shrewsbury's done me a favour, really. I think.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely done me a favour as well. I mean, I used to be. I don't know. I used to be a lot more. I don't want to say reclusive because I'm still quite reclusive, but But I'm definitely more. I'm less worried about putting myself out there now. You know, I'll just. I found my thing. You know, I'm doing what I enjoy doing, and I'm doing it unashamedly. Is that a word? Unashamedly?
Well, it is now.
Yeah, it is now. Yeah, it'll be in my next blog. The word unashamedly will be in there somewhere. Watch out for it.
Have you ever turned anyone's heads? Like, you know, these people that are like, "Oh, that Chris Schurke," and then you've kind of persuaded them that actually you're doing a good thing. Have you ever turned anybody to the dark side, if you like? Well, he's not that bad, actually, really, is he?
I don't know.
You don't know? If anybody has, like, I feel like just write into the show, and I'll let Chris know that you've messaged, or write into the blog, and just say, like, if you ever thought, if you've changed your mind about Chris, about what he does because of how he does it, just write in and tell us your story, because I think it is interesting, because it is a rebellious thing to do, but the way you write those blogs and the way you present it is really important. I feel like I didn't know that train station existed. Like from your last blog, I didn't know that there was a huge crash there, because it's got lost in history. Like,
exactly, yeah. And you know, everything is temporary, and no one. No, we don't always realise this because things are around for so long. But if you look at, I'm trying to think of a good example now. But throughout my blog, there are plenty of places which I've written about which aren't there anymore. Places get demolished, and in a way, but by taking pictures, you know, they're not the most brilliant pictures, but you know, there's something. It's documented.
I find myself really like enjoying history lately. And like last night, I was telling them about the Camera Beer Festival.
Oh yeah,
I was telling them about Nori, and he was like, "You don't pay for drink. You have the gold band and you drink for free." And I was like, "Yeah, that's great." That was a great Nori impression, by the way, if anybody knows Nori from Camera. And I was like, it was at a church, and they were laughing. They were like, "Wow, there's a beer festival at a church." And I was like, "I have you know that the churches used to make their own wine, and they used to ferry them back into this one and the other." And I was like, "So it's actually a perfect place for a beer festival." So have you know? And I wouldn't have said that if it wasn't for things I've learned on Shrewsbury. You know.
Yeah, history is really fascinating, and. I will say writing the blog has been really educational for me as well, because obviously I research places and I find out about them, and I'm learning as I go. So
have you truthfully now, have you ever got it wrong and you've had to like backpedal? Oh God, why have I done that?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do go back and edit sometimes if I get stuff wrong, because you know, I'm limited to my resources, and obviously they get stuff wrong, and that's one thing to remember, is that, you know, I think the word I use the most is probably allegedly, because I've learned that putting that in front of any statement kind of like gets you off the hook if it is wrong. You know, it allegedly was like this, and you know, that's like my little safety net word almost.
Yeah, and you know, following on from what we were saying about sort of style and credibility, I feel like through you learning, making the mistakes, going back, you know, learning, you've added your own credibility in some weird way. You've kind of, if somebody read something on your blog, they'd be like, "Well, Chris Schurke said it," And I love the fact that you've gone from this rebellious little scamp that climbs up buildings. Oh, there he is again, scaling the walls. To have you read his blog though? Have you read his blog? It's one of those things that you've turned a rebellious act into something that people actually really enjoy in the town, and I really like that.
Well, this is really interesting for me to hear because I just write it, but I pay very little attention to the feedback.
I do, and the last show we did was actually a big boost in likes, comments, and things. At the beginning of my show, when we first started, it was Chris Schurke's amazing. I can't wait to hear this. I listen. I like his blog. Blah blah blah. I love Christian. Nothing for the biscuit. Just all about Chris Schurke.
I am so sorry.
So that's all I can say is that you do have a lot of credibility. So I mean, very carefully, just keep doing what you're doing because people enjoy. Well,
there's a few. There's a few things going back to politics now, and this is something which has been on my mind. Is the Tory manifesto is that they're going to change the trespass laws, or so they say. They've said they're going to do this if I think it's part of their clamp down on gypsies and travellers and stuff like that. But they are going to change the trespass laws, and if that happens, then the future of the blog is rather uncertain because.
But the thing is, if nobody owns a property and you're trespassing, there's nobody there to file a complaint, then how can?
Absolutely, but I don't know. It's something. Basically, trespass laws at the moment. I'm going to use the postal service as an example now. So the postman, he can trespass on your property to deliver your mail, and that's civil trespass. He's on your property, but he's not doing any harm. If the postman was to come up your garden and smash your window to hand you your mail, then that's breaking and entering.
Yeah, I worked with this for a while. I used to work as a security guard, and when you ban someone from a property and they keep coming on that property, it's civil trespasses. If I wanted to remove them from the thing properly, I would have to go through a civil court proceedings that the police would just be like, well, I can remove him, but he's just going to come back,
But if the laws change and civil trespass becomes a criminal offence, then I'm going to say it right now. I'm not going to stop exploring, but I might stop blogging about it because Shrewsbury from where you are not is quite a high profile thing. The police know who I am. And it's just a case of if someone was to complain about it after the law changes, then I could be in a spot of bother there. It's something which I'm contemplating. I'm contemplating the ramifications of it. Definitely, I
can see why it'd be a big worry to you. I mean, and you've got to think of things past yourself, because I mean, I know you're quite respectful. You don't leave a mess. You don't break things, and you don't climb up buildings and leave rubble falling off the side of buildings, things like that. But there are other people out there that would definitely do the opposite. And they would take that typewriter, and they would take that radio, and they would break in windows and things like that. So
absolutely, yeah.
It's kind of like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, really, because you want to protect these properties, and you want to make sure that there aren't hooligans going out there smashing things up at the same time. You want to carry on doing what you're doing. Maybe we could put together and get you some sort of press pass.
That would be amazing, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got my disclaimer on my blog at the moment, which specifies that I don't force entry, and that I'm respectful, and also that I do not disclose the location, because and I encourage people to to not try to emulate what I'm doing, because I don't want responsibility for if they do about. Can I say about?
No, we can't swear, but it's fine. I'll bleep it out. Okay. Mess about.
Yeah. I don't want that responsibility. There are a lot of rooftoppers in Shrewsbury at the moment, and they're doing some amazing feats of parkour and stuff, and backflips and whatnot.
Really?
All over the rooftops, and I'm looking at them and thinking, well, they're more athletic than I am, but some of these are like 14 years old. And I'm just thinking, if one of them slips and falls, then
that's gonna. Not only is it a young child going to lose their life. It would be very, very sad, of course. But then people will be like,
"Oh, Chris
Schurke, what have you done?"
It's really annoying. I'm not the only one doing what I do, but I'm arguably the loudest.
Yeah,
and
you'd
that
be
means
the pariah, wouldn't you? You'd be like,
yeah, this is it. This is once. I think if in regards to the trespassing laws, if I think it's going to. All they really need would be someone who they can make an example out of, you know. So if all
I wonder why they've done that. I mean, like if any government went to war with the gypsies, they'd lose ultimately. It would be horrible. It would take years and years and years to clear up because the way that they've handled the whole gypsy traveller thing is through respect and kind of gentle. I mean, I know there was that camp a couple of years ago that they had to storm, and it was all over the press, and it was quite nasty. But other than that, I mean, there are I don't know. It's dodgy ground, but going in and kicking the doors down and throwing them off places doesn't always work. I'm just saying, like, you got to do these things gently.
Yeah. Personally, you know, I've given it a lot of thought, and I don't. You know, the more I think about it, the more I think that it's pretty unfeasible. I mean, for starters, if all forms of trespass were illegal, then nobody would pay their TV license anymore because the TV license goons wouldn't be able to come up your garden to knock on your door, and
they must have some sort of pass, some sort of like document that says they can do that. And if they can get it, then why can't you?
That is a very good point,
because you are offering. What you're offering is heritage. You're telling people what is about in their town and what has become of these buildings in the decay of time, and you do things respectfully.
I think, you know, without sounding too arrogant. Actually, yeah, I'm just going to sound really arrogant. People are going to love this in the future. You know, 20 years from now, people are going to be looking back on the blog, and you know, I think it's going to be a lot bigger than it is now because it's showing it's showing the town as it was. At the moment, it's showing it. You know, it was still within recent memory, but I think in the future, it's going to be a lot more popular.
The thing about your blog is timeless, right? I mean, like it's a niche thing that is like once you've taken those pictures, I mean. Unless you go back in 10 years and things have decayed even more, them pictures are there forever, man. You know, and people can see like the one with the brothel and the corner of by Abbey Foregate. That's unbelievable. And now they've turned it into a residence now.
No, it's funny you should mention brothels because I recently got into the one in Colham next to the Seven Stars.
Oh, right.
And that's about to be demolished. So when that blog goes out, the building won't be standing anymore.
Oh, right. So, yeah, see, this is what I mean. You've captured that bit of history. And I had no idea there was an old... I'll see. Next time you go to a brothel, let me know. No, that sounds wrong. But, you know...
I mean, there wasn't anything left in there. There was an England flag flying for some reason. I'm not sure why that would be in a brothel unless, you know, you get...
But the reason that I like the brothel one isn't because it's a brothel. It's because there was lots of evidence that was left behind as to what it was. Like, the train station, it was just... It'd been stripped bare, isn't it? Well, it didn't look like a train station. Whereas if there was certain paraphernalia about that made it look still like a train, like the two toilets thing was probably a guess. I guess you know there was two toilets in there.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty but
because how often do you have two toilets downstairs? You know, so obviously they were the public toilets, but that brothel thing, it had the things up on the wall. It had the bar. Did it have the bar still? Did it have a bar? I can't remember. There were things on the wall though, wasn't there? And it's kind of like you can stand there and you can almost get a feel of it, like at the prison, like you know, like at the parade, I guess. But that's why I like that. So, what are your plans for the future? Have you got any more plans to any more elaborate Eastern European, American, wherever you want to go? Plans?
I'm currently. I'm torn on my next international destination. I mean, I want to do France because there's a lot out in France.
That would be amazing.
But at the same time, I'm starting to. I've been like mapping out abandoned places across Russia at the moment, and I know a little bit of Russian. So I'm thinking, and I've been talking to some of the Russian urban explorers, and you know, and the only problem with Russia is it's so big. And everything is I mapped out a couple hundred abandoned places and zoomed out and realized that I'd covered an area the size of Wales, and even that was just a tiny portion of Russia. And I thought this is going to take a lifetime. If I was to explore Russia, that would be
and to do that legitimately as well with how the Russian government is, it would be quite difficult, I imagine.
See, I'm researching this because I think the Russians are a little bit more relaxed on the whole urban exploring thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen some of these crazy Ukrainians that jump from roof to roof. Like they're like the elite, aren't they? They're like they do some crazy stuff up there.
But then the Germans are pretty relaxed about it as well. I think it's a case of if you get caught, then they'll ask you to leave. But at the same time,
if he dies, he dies.
Yeah,
pretty much.
But it's everyone seems pretty. I've been looking at a lot of abandoned churches across Russia, and they a lot of them just tend to be left. And if you want to walk in and have a look around, you can. But they are dilapidated and falling apart.
Yeah, and I imagine there are certain because like Russia's Russia's been in conflict for hundreds of years with different parts of. What they annexed into and things like that, so like Ukraine and things like but France as well would just be like the gold mine, I imagine. Have you got a GoPro and things like that you could maybe you can do like a YouTube documentary sort of thing?
I wish. No, I haven't got a GoPro. I'm actually really lacking in resources, to be honest. I don't know how I managed to I don't know. I have my camera and I have a torch and I bring a first aid kit with me, obviously. And
I'm thinking we should do something sometime. We should do like a collaboration. I'll see if I can get a camera because I know I've got people that can borrow a GoPro off. We could do a biscuit from where you are not, and we can do like go on tour, man. We can do something together, and we can get like, loads of likes on the social medias.
It's all about the likes.
It's all
absolutely like and share and subscribe.
And serotonin. Give me some love, people. No, it'd be good content. I mean, especially if we were doing things in Shropshire. But yeah, like the idea of going to France and like looking at like all the chambers, the old like what
the catacombs.
Catacombs. That's the one. Catacombs.
Yeah, they're really interesting because. There's about 200 miles of them, and some of them are open to the public, and some of them aren't. And I've been trying to get in touch with urban explorers over there and say, can one of you like show me how to get down there? Because pretty please, because 200 miles of pitch black catacombs sounds a bit like one of those you need to know the right people kind of deals.
Yeah, because you get lost and that's it then.
They haven't responded, but I think that's fair enough because when people ask me, if I can show them around any abandoned places in Shropshire, I ignore them. So
yeah, because you want to protect those places. I get it.
Yeah, and also protect the people. And it's like
that's the last thing you want, isn't it? Somebody falling on something and you're like, well, I planned this and I'm responsible. Yeah, that kind of you don't want that on your conscience. Someone hurting yourself because of that. So last time we talked about places you'd like to go, and I can't remember what we said. What is like the ultimate goal for you? Would be like the pièce de résistance.
I'm trying to think. What have I got?
I mean, like the thing with me is I'd like to do like some sort of ancient thing, Egypt, things like, because I've got this idea. I would love to be able to prove that the pyramids are older than what they are, because I watched this Joe Rogan episode once, like when they were like, the pyramids are 15,000 years old, and then like people that wrote the old Egypt books that are in libraries now were like, no. There's like evidence. I'd love to prove that.
I saw on the internet recently, it was a black and white picture from 18 something or other, and it was back when the Sphinx had just been like newly, they were just starting to excavate it, and all these like members of the public were just sat on it like posing for this big group photo. And I just thought, you could never do that today. No. And God, if I could go back in time, I would go back to when the Sphinx was like newly discovered, and you could still climb all over it, and you could probably find so much before these like archaeologists and stuff started protecting it. You could probably find so much more. It's so much fun to do this before it becomes so what's the word I'm looking for?
Organized and a lot more.
Yeah, and it's
protected.
And everything's a bit more real when it's undiscovered, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. And they're still finding things out about those pyramids. It's still a massive mystery. I mean, a lot of historians will tell you that they've got it nailed. You know, they know exactly what it is. But there are some people out there that will be like, well, actually, it's not quite accurate. I need to find this episode, but for you to watch because it's fascinating. There is evidence to suggest that when a giant asteroid hit Central America 15,000 years ago, there was water marks in Egypt that suggest that possibly the destruction that was caused by that affected the pyramids, which was 15,000 years ago. And they were like, that shows that there is, and there's also like evidence to show that sort of South American natives and Egyptians have similar sort of architectural techniques, and like that was how does that happen? There had to be a.
Have you heard of the pyramid off the coast of Japan?
Is there one there? Is there?
Yeah, there's one underwater. I'll have to send you the link at some point. But yeah, they found a pyramid underwater.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big conspiracy theory fan, but like, there's something there that we're missing, you know. And these things fascinate me. And so I'm not a closed book kind of guy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm an open book kind of guy. I'm kind of like, well, maybe there's more to this, you know. And they are finding more, and that's the best thing about history. It's like we've only got so much to go by. Whereas, like, I mean, like in Shrewsbury, you've got the archives, which are full of just evidence, raw evidence, like everything's written down. It's like this is the most organised place historically you'll ever come to. Whereas, like places like the catacombs, like you said, what's in those bits in Paris, like that nobody can go down.
Exactly, that's like 200 miles. Well, I can't. I think I know why, but yeah, exactly. And you know, one thing that fascinates me is the Vatican archives as well.
Oh, God.
Because you're only allowed to take out. You can take stuff out of there and borrow it like a library, I guess. But you have to know exactly what it is that you want to take out, and then you have to ask for it. So if there's something down there that you don't know about, then you can't ask to take it out. And
there's probably a lot there. Speaking of conspiracies, there's probably a lot there as well. You know? I'm not trying not to offend anyone, but yeah, history is amazing, and I think what you're doing is a fantastic thing because it's a service to the town. I mean, as long as you're doing things carefully and you're being respectful, which you are, you know, we see that a lot. You know, you're doing a really, really good thing. I was going to say, I was going to talk about the power station. I think, is it
Iron Bridge? Yeah, it's coming down, isn't it?
Yeah,
they're demolishing those cooling towers.
Is it Monday or is it Friday? I think it's this week sometime.
One of the days. I don't.
I'm really upset by this. I feel like they're destroying that maybe so they can build houses on it. I don't know, but it's destroying it. Like even if you look at that and you think, oh, it's just a power station. In 100 years' time, they'll be like, this is how they made power. You know,
that's a very good point. Yeah, it's the power station and I have a very we've got an interesting history, to be honest, because it was the power station adventure which made it into the Shropshire Star and kind of gave me a lot of coverage, which so not all of it was positive.
You're notorious.
Yeah. So I kind of like on one hand I think that was an amazing adventure, and there's a huge part of me that wants to confine it to the past because I feel like I've done better things since then. Personally, and I think I've matured since then as well. I was my power station blog was very was pretty cheeky in the narrative. I think it was very much like,
explain the context because I'm not familiar with this. What did you do there?
I kind of like said, I kind of phrased it as I'm minding my own business and suddenly this power station snuck up on me. Whoops. and I'm kind of like I'm disrespectful to the security in it, I feel. And
you learn though. You're young.
Yeah. I mean, I was at the time when I first explored Iron Bridge Power Station, I had never done anything that immense. So, so I was very much like.
What did you go? You didn't climb up one of those cooling towers, did you? Please don't tell me you didn't.
I went inside the cooling towers.
Okay.
I did climb around the power station quite a bit. There's a lot to climb.
I can just imagine like in my own head, climbing up one of those cool towers, getting on top and going, why have I done this? Oh my God, this is terrible. This is a bad idea. Because they're big. They're big.
They're pretty big. I mean, I climbed a roller coaster in Lancashire in the old Camelot theme park. And that's probably one of the most terrifying climbs I've ever done because it's windy up there and you're on a roller coaster. And I don't know. There's something about roller coasters that give you that sense of anticipation as you're ascending because you know there's a drop on the other side, and even if you're climbing it, you still get that kind of like you still get that feeling like, oh, there's a drop at the other end, and it was very windy up there.
So you basically just walked the tracks of a roller coaster, or you climbed at the side of it?
Yeah, I walked the tracks.
Oh my gosh!
It was amazing though, and I would do it again.
I'll do it again.
I tried to climb the roller coaster in Berlin as well in the theme park there, but
God, that would have been dangerous. Like, imagine that's really derelict, right?
Yeah, I was caught. I made a sprint for the roller coaster, and security kind of like clamped their hand on my shoulder, and that was it. And they were nice, but the Germans are very much like rules are rules, you know. So they were very firm as well. The theme park in Berlin though. Apparently, the security guard was telling me that in 2014, a 90-year-old woman snuck into the theme park and she sat down on the Ferris wheel, and then the wind blew the Ferris wheel and she went all the way around, and the fire brigade had to come and help her down, and that's why the security presence there is what it is because of stuff like that. And I just thought a 90-year-old woman snuck into an abandoned theme park and it took a ride on the Ferris wheel, and this Ferris wheel it doesn't sound safe at all. I mean, the wind still blows it, and as it's blowing, it makes this horrendous like screeching noise.
I imagine, it's not been
it's not been maintained since 2001, I believe, and it screeches. So you're walking around this theme park, and you can just hear. And I just thought, this little old lady, she just sat down on the Ferris wheel, probably to pose for a photo, and suddenly the wind takes her, and suddenly she's up in the air. And I just thought, 90 though. Imagine still doing this at 90.
Crazy.
I mean, she's probably she's my new idol, definitely.
Speaking of Ferris wheels, one of the most famous, Pripyat. Would you?
I probably would. But at the same time, going back to what we said about Egypt, is it's very touristy now, isn't it? Everyone's going to
Chernobyl.
Yeah.
But I mean, like there are probably places you could probably sneak into in Chernobyl, but it's like they take those Geiger counters and it races up the radiation, so you'd have to be very, very careful.
I would say if I ever become terminally ill, touch wood, if I ever become terminally ill, I will go to Chernobyl and I will live stream my final trip around it, because I won't have to worry about the radiation then, will I? I can just
It's still a puzzle for them, isn't it? I just read that the massive millions of pounds they spent on the cover that goes over there, what's over it, it's falling apart. Apparently, it's like eating it. So they're looking for a way to try that. They're still like burning. It's crazy. I have no idea.
There's one in Japan as well, isn't there?
Yeah,
which I can't remember what it's called now. Fugi something.
Was a couple of years ago? It was the earthquake, wasn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's loads of places like that.
Dark tourism's growing though. It really is growing, and I feel like it's because of
crazy people like me.
Yeah, publications like yours, but more like the YouTube channels. A lot of
YouTube's definitely. YouTube's actually had some rather worrying ramifications. To be honest, I went to an abandoned school in Staffordshire, and a bunch of children were there, and they were following me around because they were under the impression that if they hung out with me, they were going to end up on YouTube, and they thought I was some kind of famous YouTuber, and I thought, this is if I was a small child and I saw a man in an abandoned building, I would run away, and these ones are, I mean. These ones are coming up to me, and they wouldn't leave me alone. And I was walking around this school with like a little entourage of prepubescent little maggots, and I'm just saying, can you like leave me alone? But at the same time, I didn't want to tell them. I didn't want to tell them off because I knew that would just antagonise them and bring out their cheeky side. So I was kind of like trying to ignore them at the same time as yeah. But at the same time,
I've not seen Scooby-Doo, pesky kids.
But I worry about them because they don't know that I'm safe to be around. It's an abandoned school. No one knows they're there. And I'm just thinking, if you're a small child and you're hearing this and you see a crazy person with a camera in an abandoned building, don't go up to them because just stay safe.
That's very noble of you. Because
I don't set out to get anyone into trouble.
No, you're doing a good thing. And I know people are undecided about you.
Yeah,
but I made my mind up when I first met you and first read about you. I mean, if you were, I've made a mission to kind of be a bit more honest with my podcast and things like that. If you were like jumping across buildings and handstanding off rails and things like that, I'd probably tell you, don't be so silly. But you're not. You're kind of respectful, and you've been doing it long enough. And I hope that you stay safe, and I hope the trespass thing doesn't ruin what you're doing, because you are doing a great thing for the town.
Thank
especially you. With the urban exploring. The whole. If you're listening to this now and it's still up, this is going to go out in a couple of weeks. But if you're still listening to this, go to Shrewsbury from Where You Are Not blog. You can go onto your Facebook page. The links are all there, aren't they? To your
Yeah, Shrewsbury from Where You Are Not has links to my Facebook, my Twitter, which I never use, but go on it anyway. My Instagram, which I do use, and it's also got a link at the top to my international blog, Everywhere from Where You Are Not, which a lot of people don't realise I've got that because they look pretty similar. But you'll see all my Germany blogs on there, as well as my Wales blogs and my Staffordshire blogs, and anywhere else that I happen to go. It's rather unplanned.
Another fascinating one I just remembered actually before we go was like where they were doing roadworks, and you snuck down the hole. And I don't understand the premise of this. Right? Okay, so where you'd snuck down to this hole in the ground, and there was like that big black wall, and it looked like there was like almost like pavements and things. Was that like the ground level then, and it's like things are being built up? I don't understand it. Or was it a tunnel originally? Because I couldn't understand what I was looking at.
So St. John's Hole, as I called it, because it's on St. John's Hill, so I called it It was a pun, St. John's Hole. I got in trouble for that one as well, but I think that joke's a little bit too mature for this podcast. But so basically they did some road works. They uncovered the cellar for like the first time in like 200 years or something, and I just thought, okay, I'm going down there. So I went there at night, and from what I understand, it used to be groundish level. It used to be a little pathway which runs along the interior of the town walls.
Okay.
So basically, it connected to the old fortifications, allegedly.
A bit like an underpass.
Yeah. And then it got converted into a cellar, and then at some point it got paved up, so no one. So
somebody was like, "I'll have this slice of land, thank you."
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. It fascinates me. It was only like two very small rooms underground, but it's what it implies is that there's more. A lot more. I imagine. Yeah. If roadworks can uncover those in like St. John's Hill, then imagine if those roadworks had been by the Abbey. They could have found something immense down there. It's one of those things.
You'd find so much digging around by the Abbey. I mean, there's just so much there that you can't, isn't there?
If I had like one night alone with Shrewsbury and a pickaxe, and obviously legal permission, I would just be like a kid in a candy store. I would find so much.
Yeah.
That's obviously a hypothetical situation. It's not going to happen, but but yeah,
Did you manage to get into Old St. Chad's, by the way? Because I know that was your like pièce de résistance from Shrewsbury. You really wanted to get in there.
Yeah, I believe the Hive are using it as a storeroom, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah, well, so I've been told. So that's kind of like taking the fun out of it a little bit. It's kind of, but
it'd still be nice to go and have a look around. I imagine. I don't know. Have you done the church in Battlefield?
No, I haven't.
You can go to Battlefield Farm Shop and you can get the key, and there's a church which is walk across the field, and that you can open it up with the key, and you can go and have a look on the bell tower and stuff like that. I would definitely check that out.
I will do that.
Battlefield Farm Shop, yeah.
In the imminent-ish future.
Right, okay. I wanted to play a little thing with you before we go. 3 things are never demolish in Shrewsbury. Just straight off the top of your head. If you had to protect 3 buildings straight away, bam, what would they be? You put me on, because I can't ask you what Shrewsbury mean to you, because we did that last time.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. So there's only 3 things which I can say.
You can only save 3 buildings. They're going to demolish all the old buildings in Shrewsbury. You can only save 3. Which ones do you choose?
I want to say. I'm going to say the. I want to say the bingo hall. For starters, yeah, because about 30% of that's been converted into a bingo hall. The upstairs is just all entirely perfectly preserved 1970s theatre. Can
you go and look at that?
Only if you're me. You got to get your sneak on a little bit for that. You've got to I got onto the roof of the bingo hall.
What are people like though when you say, "Can I have a look at your such and such"? Are they usually like really welcoming, or are they like bugger off?
Yeah, they tend to say bugger off. Yeah. So this is the McDonald's problem. See, I found out that the McDonald's cellar had another bit of cellar which the public weren't allowed into, and I just I asked them on the last day that they were open. I said to them, "Can I please go in and just have a look?" And they were like, "No, even the staff are too afraid to go down there." And I was like, "Well, now I've got to come back when you're not around." I mean, this bit of trespass is on them. But, okay, the McDonald's cellar is definitely the second place that I would preserve because it's amazing.
Okay,
definitely. So we've got the bingo hall, we've got the McDonald's cellar. What else?
Well, it's really hard for you. Should we make it 5?
No, that's even harder. Yeah. Okay. Dear God.
One more thing, and then the rest's gone forever.
Right. See, oh God. See, are we going under the assumption that I've preserved these to retain them as some kind of playground? So if I was to say
whatever you feel is important, it's up to you.
If I was to say that,
and I'll tell you my 3, I guess.
If I was to say the unpopular decision, which is the Market Clock Tower, that would only be under the impression, with the understanding that I would be allowed up there at all times, whenever I wanted.
The highest point in the town. No, we'll do that.
I would save that on that condition. Because I love it up there. I've only been up there once, but oh my God, it was the crowning achievement, and that was in 2010. That was everything since then has just been, every rooftop since then. Nothing beats the clock tower.
No,
but so failing that though, I would say the Parade Shopping Centre would be my 3rd because I love it.
And this is the hard thing when you're picking 3 things, because I was going to save the Lord Hill column, but there's 2 of them. So
is there?
I think there's one. Is it one in Attingham Park?
Oh
no, not Attingham Park. The Follies.
Oh yeah, of course, the Hollies. Yeah.
There's twin ones, isn't there? Apparently, but I mean, I'll keep the Lord Hill column because I think it's an important part of town. I'd keep the library. The Darwin thing is really important to keep. And I'm stuck here between the old Market Hall. That little market hall in the town square.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I'll probably keep that. This it signifies Shrewsbury, how Shrewsbury found its fortune.
In that case, then can I swap my final? I want to swap my final say for the music hall behind the old market.
Oh
hall.
Yeah, the museum.
Because that's got some important history.
The Beatles played there, didn't they?
Yeah, but also they've got old jail cells down there, because the market hall, which you mentioned in the middle of the square, used to be the courthouse.
Yeah,
and the prisoners were detained and put in cells in the music hall before being brought up for their trials.
No way, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you should go to the music hall and just they'll let you see.
They're quite cool guys, to be honest. I really want to do a piece on that, and kind of taking this really old building and turn it into something quite cool, which is a little tiny cinema. Yeah, I'm going to speak to them.
But the music hall. I first went in there in 2010. By going up because it was covered in scaffolding for ages. I went up onto the scaffolding and got in through an upstairs window, and I heard the rumours that there were jail cells further down, and I made a dash for them, and I set off an alarm on the ground floor, and I had to run. But afterwards, after it reopened as a museum, I went in and just said, look, I've tried to get in here illegitimately and I failed. But I know you've got jail cells and I'd really like to see them. And they were just like, yeah, sure. So, so the music hall folks, they're pretty chilled about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're quite good. They're quite good.
Well, they're history lovers, aren't they? You know, that's the thing, that they like history too.
And at the end of the day, if you're going to write a blog about something cool that's in the building that they want people to go to, it's probably a good idea to let you. The one place I'd like to go to, finally, before we go, is the old jail by the library. Apparently, that's where the old prison was before the Dana, and apparently it was just a cesspit. It was just like the worst you could imagine. And apparently there's a white building there, and there's still evidence in the basement or something. I don't know. So we'll have to think about that one.
Which one's this?
I've forgotten what it's called now.
I'm learning something.
It was on For the Love of Shrewsbury. Let's Google it.
It's not Castle Carpets, is it?
No.
I know they've got a pretty cool cellar.
How do you spell gay? The old jail. Gay.
G-A-I-O, all the vowels L.
The old prison Shrewsbury. No, not that. Brings up the Dana. We know the Dana's there. Okay. Is there a picture of it? Is there a picture of it? Probably not. I don't know. There's loads of jails, in Shrewsbury over the time, but apparently there's one by the library that was particularly quite nasty.
Oh, wait, is this the one under School Gardens?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There's a white building there. Yeah. We'll I want to do an adventure with you one day.
We will.
We can do something on location, and we can be like, we are here now in the... What was that?
Yeah, get Shane as well. Shane's come on adventures with me before.
Oh, he's a wuss. No, I'm joking. He's saved my backside a few times. But yeah, thank you for coming on, man.
No worries.
On again, like I said, we wanted to do a sequel, and by Jove, we've done it. We've done this again. That was a really bad thing to do. Bang this.
This table.
It's the springs on there, like
tapping the table, and it's echoing throughout the microphone.
I've asked Shane if we can make a really elaborate table. I want a big round biscuit table with the biscuit logo on there, and he was like, okay. Okay. We're going to make it out of pallets, I think. We're going to be like eco-friendly. We're going to make it out of pallets and stuff. I don't know. But thank you for coming on.
No worries. Thank you for having me. Guys,
make sure you check out Shrewsbury From Where You Are Not, the blog, the Instagram page, and the Facebook. I won't bother with the Twitter. We never use it. But if you see Chris about, make sure you say hello. And if you would you take suggestions of people, places to go?
I do.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people message me saying, "Oh, have you seen this abandoned place here?" And yeah, I do check it out, and that's exactly how I did the train station last blog as well. So it does happen. I take suggestions. Yeah,
and people, have they commissioned you to take pictures of the houses? I think we talked about that last time. Some people were like, "Can you climb up my building?" Or I don't know.
Nah, that's never happened.
No. I don't know. What am I thinking of? Anyway,
I don't know. If someone wanted to pay me to take a picture of one of their houses, I would tell them to find a real photographer.
There's all these drones. Well, drones are taking off, man. See what I did there? Anyway, we better get out of here. Cool. Thank you very much, Chris. Guys, if you want to get in touch with us, you can check out our brand new website, which is shrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk, and you can message us directly from that website. It looks beautiful. It's made for us by Web Orchard, and we love them very much for it. So check out our website, shrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk. You can even listen to the episodes off that website without downloading an app. I know some people are funny about apps. You can listen to the Shrewsbury Biscuit on your laptop, or you can use it on your phone as well. So check that out, guys, and we will be back next week, and we love you very much. Thank you again, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Peace out, guys.